Hello, hello, hello! Welcome to the Middleton Methods podcast. I'm Sam.
And I'm Brandon.
And we're opening the kimono to our life tips, business ventures, and funny stories to help you on your journey through life. So welcome. Excited to have you guys here. I'm excited. This is wow, I just realized it's our 10th podcast. Yes! We didn't even talk about that before we hit record. That's exciting.
Exciting stuff. And
Number
thanks for
10,
the
thank
additional...
you for coming back and listening and inspiring us to keep going. I'm so excited. I'm interrupting Brandon.
No, I was just going to say thanks for the additional reviews and comments that we got in. We'll let a few of those add up before we start sharing them on the show, I think.
Yeah, that's so awesome. We really appreciate you guys. So thank you. So today we have a good show. We're bringing in some business back into the mix. We're going to talk about our little first-class babies at the end of the podcast. But first, we just want to talk. We haven't had a Middleton Madness in a few weeks. We were switching it up a little bit, but we're going to bring it back today because, and I don't think this is a topic that Brandon really wants to talk about. So I'm going to push him out of his comfort zone, and we're going to talk about it anyway because it makes him uncomfortable that I'm about to nitpick him a little. But I want to talk about do you work and drive at the same time? Can you guys comment and let me know? Text me if you have my number. Let me know about this because the madness in our house is that, Brandon.
When did I do? What did I? Was this yesterday?
Yes, this was yesterday.
Okay.
But this is not yesterday.
Okay.
This is years and years and years of pent up aggression that I'm about to get out right now.
Oh my goodness.
I'm just playing. So, yes, yesterday. All right, let me just set the stage a little here. Brandon. He's a guy. We start our relationship. He's the one that used to drive around all the time. And as years go on, I've kind of taken over. I want to say that responsibility, but I'm sure it has to do with control things on my end or
She's driving Miss Daisy.
Yes, I'm driving Miss Daisy. So nowadays, though, there were a few years when Brandon and I were building our business where he literally did no driving. I drove everywhere, and we
were working every minute of every chance that we had.
Right, and you were on the phone a ton at the time. It was always a meeting, always a meeting, always a meeting, always a meeting. And quite frankly, it is scary to be in the passenger seat with Grandpa driving, and then on top of it, he's not paying attention to the road because he's paying attention to the phone call he's on. So that was the original inspiration of me going behind the wheel. But even these days, it's still now it's even more scarier because now you don't drive as often.
I feel like I forgot how to drive a little bit because I didn't drive so much for so long, and then of course we don't have a commute. Right, so we drive to the mall or drive to we don't even drive to the grocery store anymore because the groceries are delivered. We don't drive a lot, so when we do, I if I'm on the phone or I'm completely focused on what I'm doing, which I guess is not the best thing for when you're driving.
No, it's not when I'm about to face plant the car in front of us at the stoplight. That's a scary, scary thing. So, and I'll even be we'll be about to get in the car and I'll be do you have any meetings, phone calls, work, anything that's going to sidetrack you from looking at your phone or getting on your phone? Because if so, I will drive. Please just let me drive. So that's our madness right now. It's so scary. Yesterday, I swore we were going to hit 3 cars because Brandon and I were, just reviewing our podcast episode, and he wasn't paying attention to the road, but he insisted on driving yesterday to the meetup we were going to. So that was pretty dang scary. And the lesson of the day for me was just don't let Brandon drive, and my life will be saved. So that was it. But you have anything else to add there? I know, I drive a lot faster than you too, so I know sometimes you get scared when I'm driving and you're not paying attention and you're on your phone and you look up and we have traffic coming up, but I'm still doing 80 miles an hour. I know that freaks you out, but I got it. I'm paying attention.
No, I think you just need to trust me a little bit more with the driving because I didn't drive for so long. So now, where I would normally hit the brakes, you hit the brakes sooner than I would, or what have you. And you think I'm not paying attention, but I really am paying attention. yesterday might have been a little bit of an exception, but we got we put the little thing in the car where you can put the phone. Here's a tip.
Oh no, this is not a tip. This is a distraction.
No, that's
Don't
what I'm saying. Don't put the don't put the little clip on the dashboard, because once you put the phone hands free, I feel like once it's like in your eyesight, then it's that much more tempting to be like, oh, something just came in, let me look at it. So that was a bit of a mistake, but hey, it's new habits and new.
He got
I just
that
got to
idea
untrain
from
myself.
Uber,
That's
I'm pretty sure, because the Uber drivers all have their phones like right by the steering wheel, and he was like, "Oh, let us try this." But
you know what? I like Apple CarPlay, because if you have one of these newer cars, a lot of them are coming out with the CarPlay. Once you plug your iPhone in, it like hijacks your phone, so you can't touch the phone really, and you can't text or anything. It just turns the screen on your car into like your phone, which makes it a little bit easier and a little more limiting. But anyway,
well, since you know your iPhone so well,
these are
you're on it all the time, it probably makes it really, really easy to put it on Apple Play, because then it's like your car just turned into your phone. Oh, I was going to you said to trust you more when you're driving.
Yeah, because everyone has their own style, right? So you you drive a little faster than I drive. You're more in a hurry to get somewhere. I just enjoy the drive.
House 20 minutes late.
If I miss the exit and if I'm late to something, like I don't like stress about it. I'm just like, well, I guess I was supposed to be late. I'll get there when I get there.
Pitter patter around like a grandpa, and when we're always late to everything now that we have kids, and no matter how hard we try to leave on time, it doesn't happen. So because I will just get in the car and I will focus on destination A to B, right? So you can focus on whatever, be lost in your thoughts in the passenger seat, and I'll still communicate with you if you want. But it's hard to trust you with the driving when you don't even know where you're going. And many times I end up just driving from the passenger seat anyway, because Brandon relies on Siri all the time. That's true. Yeah. Oh, did you just say that's true? What was that?
It is true.
What was that?
That's true.
What was that? So anyway, that's our madness.
I'll get the hang of it. I'll relearn to drive.
At least you know how to get to our favorite sushi spot, and you know how to get to the mall after, like, where Apple is, course, where the Apple store is. After about 1,000 trips to both of them, you know how to get to those two things. Oh, and the hotel that we end up at for like a lot of events in Tampa end up at this one hotel, and you know how to get there too. But other than that, you're like a lost puppy in the city.
Hey, if we didn't move so much, I would memorize this stuff. But
we've been here for 3 years. I can pretty much take us anywhere in Tampa.
All right.
All right, moving on.
Anyway,
go ahead, baby.
Let's talk about the topic of the day.
We might have to bring that subject back later. I think you're avoiding that topic now. Yes, our subject of today. This is like a great one, because there are, so we work really closely with one of the top motivational speakers in the world. I know we've mentioned him a couple times on the podcast, Eric Thomas, Dr. Eric Thomas, E.T., the hip-hop preacher. He's got several names nowadays. If you haven't checked him out, check him out. He's amazing. But he has this awesome membership program called Breathe University that we not only work with, but we're also a part of. And in there, he has 3 levels of that membership called Survive, Strive, and Thrive. And it really kind of, what you get in those memberships and the pricing of those memberships reflects more than likely where you are in your business and your success, and gives you the tools and resources.
There's stages for life. We talked about it last month.
To go to that next level.
Seasons. There's seasons or stages in your life or business. Survive, strive, and thrive.
Right. So today we're taking those 3 survive, strive, and thrive levels and taking it into our conversation of business and where we've been at in those 3 levels in our
specifically relationships. Right? Because it's funny, as we've grown and as we continue to grow, our relationship has changed and grown, both personally and because we are in business together, also business. So there's a really kind of interesting dynamic that we're constantly being, tested and molded, and things are constantly changing. But at the core of it is relationships, which I think was the first point here is that when you invest in your relationships, like your personal relationships, you invest in your marriage, everything else gets better. You've heard that, happy wife, happy life. Like if you could have all the things going right in your business, but if things aren't going good at home, like it eventually affects business.
So let's take this back to like the beginning of our, I guess I would say like, not the very beginning of our entrepreneurial career, because we had a couple.
It basically was. We
it
can
was,
call
right.
ourselves entrepreneurs before this point,
With
but
our
we weren't
t-shirt
making
business?
we weren't making any money, so we were spending more money than we were making at the time. But yeah, so what was this? 2008?
No way. It was even earlier. It was like 2004.
It was around that time.
Mm-hmm. It was 2004 and 5. I mean, it was a long time ago. When we started our first repair shop, our computer repair shop with an old high school buddy of ours. And the reason that we want to bring this up, and I'll let you really set the stage for it, because you were in the business a lot more than I was at the time. Mm-hmm. But because you had that relationship, right, with the high school friend. So you guys kind of started this company together. But let's talk about like why we didn't stay in that business and how negative relationships can really keep you in that survival mode and not help you get to the next level.
Yeah, so I
think when you're first starting out. Sorry.
Yeah, so when you're first starting out in business or in your career, like the relationships you have are usually a product of your environment. They're more convenient relationships, right? Our earliest relationships outside of our family are school and our neighborhood, what have you, right? Our friends. And this first business partner that we actually had was a friend for many years before we ever, saw the opportunity to do business together. And he had skills that I didn't, and I saw an opportunity, and I had skills that he didn't, so I saw an opportunity for us to, team up together and start a business without actually really thinking about. Someone can be a good friend, or they could be a convenient friend, or they're a friend when you're young and irresponsible, all right, and you can have a lot of fun together. But when you start growing up and needing to, run a business and start a family and, have real responsibilities, they may not necessarily be the best, business partners. So this, where do you want me to go with it?
Really? Yeah. This is your story, babe.
No,
okay, so when we were, let me take it to the relationship side of things for a minute.
Yeah.
And then you can continue on more like the business aspect. But at that time, Brandon and I had only been together. We had only been together for a few years. Our relationship was really like not always on the best grounds, right? Mm-hmm. And then on top of it, we threw in, we were young. We were trying to go through college. Were we in college at that point? Yeah, we were trying to go through college. I was doing all of our college work while Brandon worked on building this business. And basically tell him what to study for tests, and then we would go show up and take our tests. Like we had this so we had like the relationship stuff going for us, but then we had these negative people around us that would throw wrenches in it. And this example was a really good one, this business that we had with this high school buddy, because he had a really abusive lifestyle. He wasn't an abusive person, but he was like abusive. Abuse, yeah, right? Like he was a drunk and did drugs, and like he just had all these things going against him on that aspect, because we had been building a clientele of people that wanted their computers fixed, and in a business like that, especially starting out, it's all about referrals. Like we didn't have a marketing budget, right? We didn't have a marketing budget back then. Like we really had to depend on giving quality service to people, so they would come back when their non-Apple computers would break again, or B, they would tell a friend, and then they would come to us for help as well. But it's really hard to do that when the person we depend on to actually fix the computers was out drunk the night before and was like not even at his house the next day, and we're trying to get a hold of him, and he's not picking up his phone because he's sleeping at noon, and we're driving there was one day that we had to drive oh man, it was like an hour and a half because we were supposed to deliver somebody's computer to them. And although he had fixed it, he took it with him to his girlfriend's house. That was like it was like an hour and a half from where we were living. So, I'll spare all the details, but we had to drive and pick up the computer. Actually, we had to wake him up to get the computer, drive it all the way to this other town far away from our house, too, to drop off the computer, and then drive all the way back home. And that was about the time where we realized, like, that
was the breaking point. The relationship didn't start that way, right? Everything started with the right intentions. And, we knew, he was immature at the time, but he showed up in the beginning, and what he did at night and outside of work didn't affect us. We didn't think was going to be a big deal. Fast forward, a year later, and he just had gotten worse. So we got to learn more about him and realized, all right, this is not good now. But here's the funny part about that relationship. That was the first business that we had where we actually started to build a name for ourselves. It was the first time, like when the economy was like, crashing, which is actually, I think, more like 2006. But anyway. When the economy was starting to, to get shaky, we started to realize, college wasn't going to be the route for us. This was the first break that we had where we saw, wow, this is a service of value that we can really build a business around. And we started to build a name, get referrals, and actually make good money. Like, we made decent money. We could pay ourselves a salary. He got paid a salary. Like, this was the first little, like, system that we had. And Sam and I actually used to have arguments, especially towards the end of that partnership, where, she was like, "Babe, the writing's on the wall. This is like, we got to go. Like, decision made. This is not healthy. This isn't right. We need to do this on our own. We'll figure out a way, basically." And we would have these disagreements because I almost felt like I owed him. I felt like because he was a friend, when we were younger, he was a friend, so I almost felt bad for him too. So I almost wanted to maybe help change him or help support him or whatever.
But in my perspective, we were in survival mode, and this is not like we don't have time to wait till he's ready to pick his life up, and this is our time right now. If we want to get out of survival mode, we need to go. No,
that's a good point. I wish I had thought about that back then. Like, if I had known the difference between, because your actions are different when you're in survival mode than when you're even in strive mode. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's the whole cliche of you have to put your oxygen mask on before you assist the person next to you.
Yeah, true story. So we decided to take that relationship and put it aside, and it was a really valuable lesson for us because as we share more of our story of transitioning into strive and thrive mode, really letting go of that negative relationship, that was like the first time we let go of that in business, and for years to come we've been challenged with that same thing where, like, a relationship doesn't pan out how it's meant to be. I mean, it's just life, people kind of put on their best face in the dating phase of things and don't always appear to who they are, once you get married, right? And if you're not willing to see those negative relationships beforehand, you're potentially holding yourself back.
Yeah, as you grow, it's that much more important for you to see those character traits, or to see that core value, to do business. And to not just business, right? Like, even in our friendships, the people we're now bringing around our kids, and the relationships that we have with other parents and stuff, we're cautious about those relationships because the stakes are just higher. There's more, you can't recover necessarily the same way you could when you didn't have anything, you didn't have the kids. And
right, and mind you, like, it's not just about the relationship back then, right? Like, obviously, he lived a different lifestyle than we did. He didn't share the same values or respect for his his girlfriend, as you did for me. Those are just not the people that we wanted to be around anymore, the type of people we were hanging out with. But then at the same time, we had bills to pay. Let's just be real here. Like, we were surviving. We needed to make our bills. And financially, in survive mode, there was a long time where I didn't care about anything else but making our bills. Like, we just had to do what it took to get the money to pay the roof over our head and the food on our plates and not be eating green beans out of a can. Like you did when you first moved to Florida. Like, when I moved down and moved in with you, I said I'll never eat green beans and rice. You know, it's not going to be my dinner of choice ever. And, you know, almost set that standard, like, we can be better and do better, and why are we still not doing better? Let's just make that shift and that change. Which involved, you know, moving, and we moved to a better location at the time to be in a better environment, to potentially put ourselves around better people. Even back then,
it's like
we didn't even
dissolved
realize that we did that.
We like separated ourselves from that. I almost feel like, it's funny. We moved away. We moved out of that same town. Like, we'd set up a business there and everything, and we moved, and then very shortly after, we moved completely out of state to go, you know, be in other networks and around other relationships, right?
Yeah, there's a saying of, you know, hang out with the 5 people.
Yeah, the average.
You are the average of the 5 people you hang out with the most.
Right.
But if you realize that you're hanging around with, you know, a whole bunch of losers, why wouldn't you be, you know, striving to put yourself around better people, right? And that's where we were at that time. We were hanging out with, you know, people that I just would not. I don't want to run into them on the streets these days. We're back in the same area, and I wonder, like, will I ever run into these people? I'm not even Facebook friends with them. Like, I don't have any desire to be in. It's so
funny when your
situation
mindset
ever again.
When at the time, looking back, I'm like, why was that even hard? Looking back now, I'm like, I don't know why that was ever even a difficult choice to make, right? Because it's so clear now, right? Hindsight's 20/20. But in that time, when there's like emotional baggage, or there's, you know, history. Like, we still have friends in our old hometown that I feel like won't move, even though they know it's better for them in the long run. They won't move out of that, like, comfort zone because of what it would do to their parents, right? Like, to move away from their parents would be, you know, their parents would be sad, so they're sacrificing their own future and happiness for that. It's interesting. But sometimes that's what it takes.
So we had this little glimpse of, you know, moving into this strive mode shortly after we made this move. And, you know, at this time now, like, we're changing our business. We moved into a nicer area, so our bills increased, but we weren't making any more money. In fact, I think we were starting to make less, and we're almost burning on fumes here. And we decided to invest, like, literally, like, our last $2,000 at an event at the time, to go invest in ourselves and look for better people to be around, and just, you know, be inspired to what was our next move. Like,
this was the conference in Orlando, right?
Yeah, the conference in Orlando. So we went out there, and
now, mind you, hang on. We've already spent tons of money on conferences and networking and masterminds prior to this point. So we had this was probably our, like, whatever, 10th seminar or something, and we already knew how it works, right? You go there, and then they have something for sale in the back of the room, and we're like, basically, like, leave the credit cards at home. We didn't have anything on them anyway, but it was like, leave your wallet at home, because we are not, no matter what they say, no matter what is available, we are not spending any more money. And here we are on, like, our last
maybe like last $3,000. I don't even think we had that much in the bank at the time. So yeah, so we went out there and totally started getting inspired. Of course, we spent, you know, $2,000 while we were out there that we said we wouldn't spend. It was funny because we were joking on the way out, like, saying all this stuff to each other on the way out, and we had a friend with us in the car that was coming to this event that also wanted, you know, change and different stuff going on in their life. They wanted to be inspired too, and they nudged us because we, like, squeezed each other's hands knowing we were going to go spend the money, and it was a very mutual decision. We didn't even have to talk it through. We just, like, knew. But our friend was like, wait, you said, and we were like, doesn't matter, and just kind of, like, pushed him to the side of it and spent our money. And I think it was that, like, you just know when it's the right time to make that change. So we were so ready to get out of survival mode at the time. Like, we were willing to risk our last dollars to invest in ourselves, knowing that we needed to make that change, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, what's the alternative if we didn't? I mean, it was inevitable that we would only go backwards. Like we
Well,
had
I mean,
to invest in.
we were starting to contemplate going and getting jobs again
Oh
because
my
we really
gosh,
had
yeah.
we had no money.
Yeah.
We were running out of money, and if we don't have business, we don't have money. But the unique thing about that is the power of like networking and being in an event. Not only could you potentially spend a couple grand on making another investment into your mental, personal business development, which is smart to do when you're following the right mentors and stuff.
When you
to
have a
push you
good
forward,
relationship with yourself, you naturally attract other good relationships.
Yeah, so like we're like vibing and feeling good at this event, and Brandon heard a speaker that he really wanted. We already spent money on something else, so now he sees something else that he wants, and now we'll put the stop on that because we were like, no, we need to go pay rent. So instead, he's like, all right, let's go get close to this guy and go talk to him. And he started having.
I just had questions about the software or something. Right?
Whatever, you were geeking out. It doesn't matter what it was for. So you get over there and you start talking, and what happened next?
Someone overheard our conversation and overheard the questions that I was asking, and would basically realize, hey, this kid is asking better questions than like I could even forget. Like, like she could tell that I knew what I was talking about. I was asking the right questions, and she was looking for someone who needed help basically with this software and setting up this portion of her business.
So long story short, we started our marketing company that day
Yeah.
or that week. She was telling Brandon saw a need.
Yeah.
He saw a need. He knew he didn't have all the skills to fulfill that need at the time, but that he would learn it, which is a huge thing. Like if you have something, but you can see the need in the market or in what you want to do, and you can learn how to do it, like take that opportunity to jump on it at all costs. And
average skill, phenomenal will.
That's right. So at the time, he's like, we can't do all this stuff she wants, but we'll learn how to do it. Gave her a killer price because he'd be learning in the process, and that was the first time.
A killer price, but it was the most we had ever made.
It was just enough to pay our bills at the time.
Yeah.
I said, if we're going to do this, it is going to cost, I don't even remember what it was.
Yeah, I don't either.
Very minimal, because it was very minimal because we needed to pay the bills. So I was like, sure, we can go on this new business venture and take this risk for X amount a month, whatever it was. And it was just enough to cover our bills. And she was more than excited and said yes, which later on we learned it's because we had priced way too low. But at the time, that was really exciting for us because we were like, wow, that gave us the confidence to go out and start this new business. And that was the first glimpse we got into Strive mode, because we started this baby marketing company that's turned into what it is today. Right?
That's right.
So, I mean, I'm getting like pumped reminiscing about that. That was really exciting. So, the biggest thing with striving is to remember, like, don't be afraid to change your environment, right? Like, we went out there, we got out there, we met the right people, and then not even like a year after we had formed that relationship, we went out to that event where we spent the $2,000 on, and we made a whole bunch of other amazing relationships of people that were looking to change their lives and take their businesses to the next level. It was a personal development seminar, and it was like totally mind-changing.
People from all different walks of life, but we all
Yes.
had a common mindset, right? We
Right.
all thought
What we were
positively, we were very
looking for-
optimistic.
And we were looking for those people, right?
Yeah.
We were looking for the people that were going to help us get to the next level. And we started forming those relationships both with the staff of the seminar company and people in the audience.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it led to the opportunity to, move out west and, continue to grow our business out there for a little while, working with what now was several different people that we had met throughout the course of that year, and help them with their marketing. So it really changed the whole aspect to just change our environment. And, again, we weren't afraid to take that risk to just pack up everything in our car and go out there.
And the funny thing is, you may be thinking, all right, well, I don't own my own business, or I'm not in the seminar marketing education space. There are actually, that doesn't matter, because there are expos and conferences that you may or may not know for every single kind of industry you could ever imagine, from big teacher expos and conferences to there's like
hairdressing,
and
construction.
My
friend's going to a construction one in May,
right,
in Vegas.
So that environment, even temporarily. So hear me when I say you may have to move, right? Like depending on where you are. If you're in survival mode, like you may just need to get out, but you may also not have the ability to. I understand that. But if there's any way that you can find either small local meetups, networks, and or get to a bigger environment, you got to think, if there's an expo and there's 1,000 people who have all made a similar sacrifice, they all spent the time and money away from wherever they normally are to travel and be in one place. Those are the movers and shakers. Those are the people who are willing to and see the value in investing. Those are the people you want to be around, and those are the people you want to grab a coffee with, or if you drink it, meet them at the bar or have dinner and shake hands at booths. And I mean, those are just easy environments for whatever that will take your career to the next level. And what's funny is we talk so much about our business and how like the line is kind of blurry between our business and our life, because one literally always affects the other. And when you invest in your relationships, even in your career, the healthier your relationships are in your career, the more they can bleed over into life. Like, how many people do you work with that you actually, you enjoy getting together for family, time as well? Like, that is, if you, the people you work with, you wouldn't want to meet your kids, or you wouldn't want, to go on vacation with, that can be a problem. I would always, work to, to have those better relationships. So those environments attract good people.
So that naturally just catapulted us into, strive mode. And let's jump forward a few years now, because now we're up in Connecticut. We've moved back home because of some health issues within our family. We decide we'll go up there and start our family, and
our extended family, right? Right.
I mean, no, your grandma is your immediate family. You grew up and she helped raise you. So this is the family that you grew up around. I would say it's family. Until, you're all adults and nobody wants to drive to visit each other. And then you're like, why am I in this state still? But that's coming later. So we're living in Connecticut and business is doing great. And we have many clients now and we're doing very well. And we have a team of people working with us, and we've really built our company up. But what we're starting to realize is, hey, it's not really all about money anymore. Like, we want more than just money. Money's great. I love the options. And it's not like I just want to give all the money away and, not have money anymore, because I like my options and I like nice things. But I don't want this to just be about, getting our next retainer client and, doing their web work and helping them with their marketing. Like, I really want to make a bigger impact. And that's the switch and shift into thrive mode, is when there's a mental shift of like, okay, you're surviving to pay the bills and now you're doing well financially, but now you really want to go and work on your relationships too. And it's like marrying all of that together. We were thriving in our marriage and our relationship, because it was a little while before we got married, but Brandon and I were thriving in our relationship before we were ever thriving in our business. We really invested a ton of time into each other throughout the years. Frankly, probably because we worked with each other so much, like we had no option, if we wanted to stay together and be business partners, than to get along, right? So we were constantly shifting and changing things in our relationship to get to that point. But there was a time when we were in Connecticut and we're like, man, we only hang out with like 2 people consistently. We have to travel, and mind you, this is not like Brandon, we had Peyton was just a baby at the time, and I was pregnant with Max, so I couldn't travel. So Brandon was traveling quite a bit to keep up with all these clients, to make new relationships, and to build this business. And
Because nobody travels to Connecticut. Like, there's not a lot of expos and seminars and trade shows.
Yeah, there was one big seminar that came to Connecticut the whole time we were living there, and we went to it, but it was like, can this happen more?
Yeah.
So, we really started to look at our business and our life and go, okay, like, things are good, but how do we take this to phenomenal, right? Like, how do we go one more level up and get around more people that are going to push us or help our business more?
It's not about us. It's not about us as much anymore. Right?
Yeah.
Once you're out of that mode.
Yeah. It was. Yes, there's definitely wanting to just make a bigger impact as well. And I don't know, just even like we go to free masterminds now, right? Now that we're back in Tampa. We get invited
to stuff.
Yeah, we get invited to things because people know that we're genuine in our intentions and also know that we're good at what we do, and we're able to get in a room and just like help people that are looking, they're like stuck in like one little part of Connecticut and help them have those breakthroughs. So it's really, really cool. So yes, we decided to move out of Connecticut, and on our marriage side, that wasn't necessarily like at first the easiest decisions. I think we pulled out our pros and cons list and decided, for years and years we said we'd come back down to Florida. And that was at the top of our list again. But it was like, okay, why are we moving now versus, in a year or two? Because Brandon wanted to wait. We had just bought a house, literally like a year ago, had bought a house up in Connecticut and decided we were going to stay there for at least 3 to 5 years and, make a little investment in that house and just stay around there. And then all of a sudden it's like, what are we doing here? Why are we going to stay here for 2 more years? We don't like the weather. We never see our family. We don't have the connections that we want here. So
and we're leaving Connecticut to go and constantly,
Yep. And now here I am,
networking.
7 months pregnant with our second baby. And I'm going, okay, we got to make a move now or we're stuck here for a little while because I'm about to have 2 babies, and no offense, but I don't want to be home alone with these 2 babies. And we had to start thinking about our marriage again for a minute and go.
Because that would definitely affect the marriage. As we know a lot of people who do have to travel constantly, especially like a lot of the real estate speakers that we worked with. I mean,
yes, and it's just
on the road like every
assumed
single weekend.
One person has to travel for work or business, and one person has to stay home and care for the kids and help raise those little babies because they're not going to take care of themselves. So, some relationships are totally cool with that. But you told me like 10 years ago, like when we do start a family, this is what I'm not willing to do, which I think we covered on a previous podcast. Yes,
like,
I
did not just want to be the stay at home housewife. And
no, and we also discussed when we first started going to seminars and stuff and events, like we used to see a lot of people traveling without their spouse and saw behaviors and things that we didn't necessarily like, or just even the fact that we couldn't be together as much as we like to be together. And I remember like us agreeing a long time ago that we would never travel without each other. And we had been doing that quite a bit, and neither one of us really liked it. Like we missed the other person when they were gone. It's nice to, miss you and stuff, and then have you come home and have that like feeling when you get home of being excited that you're there. After not seeing
too much too often.
Not as much.
It was getting old.
Not as much as I like you just being home, right? So we decided to take the leap of faith, and it was like, all right, we can rent the house out, sell the house. It doesn't matter. It's just a thing. It's a thing. It's not like we're not really emotionally attached to this thing, and it's not helping us get to the next level by any way, shape, or form. It's just a roof over our heads. So as much as we had to let that go, we did, and we ended up packing up the house, moving. And even our project manager moved with us within a 2-week time period. I am not even joking. We packed everything up.
And
we were crazy out of our minds because Peyton was just turning a year old. We literally had her birthday party the day before we left town. We're like, everybody come, say goodbye to us, and say happy birthday, first birthday to Peyton.
All the furniture was packed.
Because surprise, we're moving. And then everybody's like, what? When did you decide this? And we're like, just like last week.
Yeah.
We literally made the decision and packed up everything and moved.
It's funny how fast you can make things happen. And
when you put your mind to it, right?
Yeah.
So we moved back down to Florida, and even since then, it's been almost 3 years down here, and we're definitely in thrive mode now. The level of we're still willing to take risks because we'll never get comfortable, right? But
you're more intentional. We're more intentional with not being too busy to go to a friend's birthday party, right? A friend's children's birthday party. We're not too busy to to follow up and say, hey, what's going on? Who's getting together? Like, and it doesn't happen overnight, right? You can't just be like, all right, I'm in the right environment, and it's time for us to all be friends. You have to, you invest in your time, and you're consistent. You're consistently around. People see you more and more and more, and they learn that you're not, you're going to be there. Right?
Then they invite you out more.
Right. People don't invite you to things when they're like, oh, Brandon and Sam are here. It's only, T minus 11 months before they move again.
Even now, like, we're still so busy sometimes. Like, there's like a mom's night out thing around here or whatever. And I've missed it the past, I think, like 3 months. The dates have just fallen off wrong. Well, one popped up yesterday, and I went, Brandon, I am going on this date. We can't let anything come up. I've missed these girls the last 3 months. And every time I'm like, please invite me next time. I promise. I promise I'm not blowing you guys off. Like, I will be there. And sure enough, they had faith in me, and now I get to go see them in a couple weeks. But gosh, yeah, being able to invest in our relationships. There's Tony Robbins, the 5 human needs.
6 Maslow's hierarchy of needs. 6.
It's 6.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, what an idiot! I thought why am I thinking it's 5? Okay, so there's the 6 human needs, and Brandon and I have put our list out there several times. It's always usually been about the same, and contribution, and
growth and contribution.
Growth and contribution.
Needs of the soul.
We're always at the bottom of our list. When we were surviving and striving, it was we don't have time to give back. We don't have time to grow. We only have time to focus on ourselves and be selfish. And we've said that before. Being selfish does not serve you. It doesn't serve others either. So, when we made the decision to come back to Florida, one of the main drives to do that was, okay, we have our relationship is thriving, but our relationship with others is not. We want to go impact new lives, and we want to go make deeper relationships with the people that we had a network with, when we used to live down in Tampa. Mm-hmm. So that growth and contribution, I remember back in the day, you'd be like, man, I really want to contribute more. And I'd be like, yeah, where's the time? Or maybe in a couple of years. Or
living in Connecticut. What was I going to, I could go to the old folks home, but outside of that, there's not a lot going on in those.
Yes, and although I like to go to charity events and stuff like that, that's not really your thing. Your type of contribution is I want to say, mine is mine's hitting the easy button. I'm helping, but I would say it's kind of surface level. That's an easy route to go. Oh, there's a charity event, let me go to it or whatever. But you have a deeper desire for contribution that is not this has been burning for very many years, and now that it's coming to fruition more, it's interesting to see you go through it, because you've been asking for the opportunity to be able to contribute more for very many years, but we've been so focused in the past on building our business, you just
didn't
have the opportunity. I was you are contributing to our clients and our bills,
right.
So congratulations.
It's a different perspective.
We'll follow that other passion later.
Yeah, no, it's easy to feel completely selfish, but there is a point in time when you're in survival mode that you do need to be a little selfish. I think. How could you sacrifice your family, right, and sacrifice your marriage and for others by being selfless, right? That's just you're being selfless in one area but completely selfish in another. So I think we felt selfish earlier on because we had to be, right? When we're in survival mode, you just have to be.
Yep. So now we're in a good spot. I'm happy. We're giving time away that we didn't think we had, because we just made the mind shift that this is what we wanted. We also wanted to make a more spiritual shift too, which we don't need to dive into too much, but we just wanted those things in our life more. And we see that shift, in all aspects of our life, and the people that are in our lives more and more. And that, we used to think we were the only couple out there that actually loved each other. It was like we really thought we were like the only ones.
Well, when you're in an environment where every time you do get to hang out, either, people don't want to hang out with the other sex, or
they're complaining about each other, or whatever.
It's like you get couples together, and then when the couples are together, the guys
they're apart.
Oh, or that too.
When the
right?
couples are together,
guys
they're
are out
apart.
in the garage, and the girls are in the kitchen, or blatantly right in front of you, they would complain about each other. They would do it with a smile on their face, which more often than not was the craziest thing for me to be like, oh, well, he never does this, ha ha ha, or she never does that. And it's like, people, you are your own worst enemy. But
Which is part of the reason we were hermits, right? Like
right.
this is like uncomfortable for me to be around it. I just don't, like, Brandon would be like, we need to go hang out with people. Let's go here. And I'd be like, I don't want to hang out with them. They're always complaining about each other.
Yeah.
Even close friends of ours wanted to hang out. And after a while, I'd be like, I need a break from them, because it's really hard to be around them when they don't talk nice about each other, or they yell at each other. Like, I just don't want to be around it.
Yeah.
Or have my kids around it, right? When the kids were alive, that made it even more of an urgency to have better relationships. So anyway, taking this back real quick too, I thought we were the only people out there that were kind to each other and loved each other. And to me, like, I was sad about that. I wasn't excited that we were the only people like that out there. I was actually sad about it, because love is a great thing. I love love, and I'd love to see when people first get together and they're so in love, because I feel like we have that, but deeper, because we have years of that, right? Mm-hmm. And it makes it even that much more important for me when I see newer relationships. I'm like, gosh, I just hope they keep that fire forever. But when we made the decision to look for better relationships in Thrive Mode, and not just be about our business, and want to contribute more to the community and stuff, we're naturally attracting those people to us and realizing we're not the only ones. And it's really exciting to be around not only other great people, because we had been around other great people in the past, but now we're around other great couples, which is like totally mind-blowing. It's cool. Like, I meet you and you're great and you're successful and you seem really happy, but you're single. Mm-hmm. So there's that whole side of your life that I don't have anything in common with, because I'm not. I don't understand that. I don't get that. I'm not in that situation. So I can only relate to your stories or experiences as much as possible. And most of those relationships were business, right? Because they were single and mingling and doing things that we weren't doing in our spare time. So most of our conversations with them were strictly business. Now we have, deeper friendships with people. They have children too. We get together as families. We're getting together locally with, I don't know, gosh, how many of us were out to dinner last weekend?
There were 28 or something.
30 of us. So there were about 15 couples there, or whatever, about that. And I would say 80%, if not more, of us all have children. Yeah. And we all got sitters, and a
lot around the same age too.
And we're all in the same boat. We want to make it more of a purpose to get together with each other, because we really love being around each other, inspiring each other, helping each other grow and get to the next level. So it's a really beautiful thing. Yep. So look for those relationships, and when you see them, grab onto them, hold on tight, and make the time for them. That would probably be the biggest thing. Make the time.
So
time is there.
That's the investment.
Everybody's got the time.
Yeah.
You got to be willing to give it
consistently. Like anything else, you can't get results in the gym if you don't consistently get your butt in there.
Thank you for the reminder that I need to get my butt back in the gym. I appreciate that.
So let's recap this real quick and move on to our question of the week. So number one, letting go of bad relationships, like we did with our first business partner, almost immediately opens the door for a good or many good relationships. Mm-hmm. So don't be afraid. It will be uncomfortable. It's supposed to be. That's almost when you know you're doing something right, is when you're like a little scared to do it. So let go of those bad relationships. Get yourself into better environments, whether it's conferences or whether it's as simple as going to meetup.com or BNI or just other groups that are out there. And number two, not just in letting go of bad relationships, so you have the time and energy to invest in yourself or invest in those relationships. When you are a better person, when you are when you have a better mindset, when you are always the one in the room where you have a positive attitude, there could be 10 negative people in the room.
But
and
you're going to stand out.
You're going to stand out, and that other one positive person or those other 20 positive people are going to be attracted to you. So invest in yourself, whether that's, books, conferences, or just investing the time. Like Sam and I, iron sharpens iron, right? Sam and I, before we had too much like education or practical like exercises that we did, just the fact that we would take so much time early on, just self-taught, right? Like we self-taught ourselves a lot of the communication things that now here we are at like communication seminars and we're going like, oh yeah, of course you need to do this. Like we only had to have, like 5 disagreements before we figured out that, that. So invest in yourself and your mindset, being a better person. And I think that's it.
Well, and remember, you also have to be willing to take risks.
Yeah.
Like it's not just financial. You have to stretch. You have to expand your mind and let go of fear. Can't be worried about what's going to happen when you do things. Like you want to hit your goals, and that goal should be the only thing in your mind, right? Like it's not like you have to do like step on anybody to get to your path. That doesn't have to be that ruthless, but having that end goal in mind, when you want it bad enough, you're gonna get to it.
Mm-hmm.
You're not gonna let those negative relationships or lack of money. Lack of money is like the biggest objection to moving on, besides like fear, right? Oh, I'm afraid to do it. I don't have the time to do it, or I don't have the money to do it, and that's not true. There's been plenty of other people before you that have struggled. There have been plenty of other people that have maybe never struggled at all, but they continue to thrive, right? Everybody's got the same amount of time a day, the same opportunities if they look for them, and it's just a matter of putting yourself in those right environments to take stuff to the next level.
And when you are in those, when you're in those environments, you go, be willing to give first. We didn't sit in Connecticut and go, all right, well, we want to have these better relationships and we want to start building a network in our community and stuff. We said, all right, well, we're going to have to make the investment and move. We're going to have to make that investment and invest the time over the last 3 years to purposefully, intentionally, go serve. Someone needs us at an event. We're not getting paid to be there. We're there because we represent the marketing, or we represent something that we're there to add value. So be willing to give that thing that you want, right? I mean, we've all heard it before, but I think it's just a good reminder that if you want more, family relationships, if you want more friends, go be a friend to somebody else. Go give to somebody else. So with that, let's move on to our question of the week, which
we were talking. Oh. We were talking with our friend on the phone the other week, and this topic came up. And we were like, yes, let's bring it up. This is a good topic.
We talked about how we just got back from California on our last podcast, right?
I think so. Yeah.
So we're flying back.
So we'll just talk about it real quick again. Go ahead.
So yeah, we're flying back from San Diego.
We're going to call this little segment First Class Babies, by the way.
First Class Babies.
First Class Babies.
All right, First Class Babies. So as the title alludes, we flew first class with the kids for the first time.
Which was amazing.
Yeah, it was really...
Please, I cannot wait to do it again. Well, yeah. I can, but, that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, traveling, I mean, we've traveled with the kids before, and we usually go coach just because it is that much more expensive.
We've only flown with the kids one other time.
Well, yeah, and we didn't have to have multiple tickets. But anyway, we're talking with our friend about how amazing the experience is, how much different it is. It's easier to manage. It's just a more comfortable experience flying cross country, especially.
Hang on a second. Stop that. We are flying with a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, a whole bunch of luggage, a stroller, and barely hanging on to our sanity at times with all the amount of stuff we got to get done before we leave town, right? So there's like all those stresses of we're about to leave town. everything. We got to get business in the right situation to afford the little extra time we'll be taking off while we're gone, so on and so forth. And then on top of it, we're throwing our 2 babies on a plane for like 5.5-hour flight it was, and then a layover on top of that. That could be a little freaking crazy. Like, it was crazy. Like, it's still crazy. I still can't believe we did it. But on the way back, we were in first class, and it was just very, very, very comfortable. So I think this topic actually came up because we were talking about this on the last podcast. Yep. And they said, man, I would have loved to hear a little bit more about, like, you know, do you think that having your kids in first class and stuff maybe like fostering like an entitlement mentality or a spoiled mentality, right?
Yeah.
With your children.
We talk about that all the time with, you know, the house, with the school they go to, with everything. Like, they are living a very different experience than we did. Certainly than I did.
I remember years ago, this just popped back in my head. You and I were having a conversation about kids at one time, and you had said to me, like, oh, I never want to live in like a really nice house or have really nice cars or whatever, because I don't want to show that type of life. I want my kids to feel
adversity, a
little struggle.
Yeah,
I think you had said, and I went, well, I don't want kids then. Like that. No, then we're not going that
route. That was a short conversation. Yeah, that was a little phase.
So now here we are, and you know, let's talk about it for a minute, because do you mind if I go first on that one?
Please, go ahead.
So the short of the long of my answer, which may end up running long, is I don't think we are fostering spoiled children. In fact, I love the ease and stress that it takes off to be able to fly in such comfort. Was not only for us, but I saw that in my children as well. Like, my kids were better behaved. I could lay the seat back, so both kids took a nap. You know, it's cute and funny and almost smart to like look at them and think like, oh, how cute is this with their little blanket, and you know, they have their doll strapped in with them or whatever, and they're sipping on, you know, their apple juice and water before we take off, and they have their headsets on and they're watching Trolls on the plane, and it looks pretty spoiled. But I'm looking at them and I'm thinking like, what a beautiful life we can give them. This is inspiring me to just want to continue to give this stuff to them. And if they grow up in a situation or an environment where they don't have to see really hard times, I just hope that we're doing our part as parents and continuing to teach them and show them that, you know, there are another side of things if they don't work hard or they don't take responsibility or they don't invest in themselves, right? Like, those are things that we have control over. Like, we have the control to teach our kids that diversity of life, right? That we don't have to go stick them in the situation necessarily to teach them that. We can show them those things regardless, and to be able to give them a life where maybe they're always inspired because they're always in the, you know, like, sometimes I laugh that Peyton's like, but I want this now, and I'm like, you just had like 3 other things that you wanted. Like, are you going to be happy at all today, or are you going to keep asking for more stuff? But then I appreciate it because
she wants something, she asks for it.
Well, not only does she want something and she asks for it, but she's getting what she wants and she's still striving for more.
True.
Right?
True.
So I don't ever worry that she's not going to grow up and keep pushing and fighting for more stuff, because she's already doing it at 3, and I already see that. So now I know it's my job to do things with her, like, you know, we made peanut butter and jelly sandwiches recently, and a friend came and picked them all up, and she went and delivered them to the homeless. And although I didn't take Peyton out to go do that,
we told her the story and explained to her that we were feeding, you know, people that didn't have homes and they didn't have food. And so, you know, we had extra bread in the house and peanut butter, and that we wanted to give that to people that were hungry. We also did that on a small scale with her pacifier. Is that what you're about to say? And toys, everything.
Yeah, we got rid of her pacifier by saying, you know, you're not a baby anymore, and there's babies out there that, you know, need pacifiers to help them sleep. And
even though we just threw the pacifiers away, obviously.
Right. But eventually, let's give those pacifiers to babies that need them. And I think we did that for 5 months, and then took the pacifiers away, and she was fine. She actually does that with her brother now. She's been prepping him, and he says it to me when I'm like, give me your passy. He goes, for other babies.
Yeah.
So, like, he's already getting prepped and ready that we're taking those pacifiers away from him soon.
Yeah.
But
just showing them that there's other people in need.
Yeah, I mean, it's up to us, right,
Yeah.
to teach them that. It's us, and even around the house, like, they don't just, like, live some cush life. Like, they have responsibilities even at 2 and 3.
Yeah.
You know, like, we taught them how to brush their teeth. We're teaching, you know, like, that Peyton knows how to get dressed on her own. She helps me with the laundry.
You know what's funny is I'm learning, as you're saying that, I'm seeing, like, we had a nanny and we've had housekeepers and stuff, and we may go back to that again, but I'm appreciating the fact that they see us with all the other responsibilities we have. Like, you know, on the weekend, mom's running around vacuuming the house and dad's doing the dishes, and they're seeing us do the work to, you know, keep a clean house or to maintain what we have in this home, right?
Right. I mean, that decision came about more because it's really just hard to have a conversation these days with the kids around because they're always interrupting. And it was like, well, I mean, I don't necessarily need the house cleaned for me. Like, you could go take the kids on the playground and I'll go clean up a little bit or whatever. But
Right.
The kids help. They grab their little brooms and their little vacuums and, you know, they have all their little things and they go around with me and clean for, you know, 5 minutes until they're bored. But it's fun to see them do those things and just start to learn a little bit of responsibility. But then even with teaching them, like, we do puzzles with them and we draw with them, and we're pushing them to, you know, thrive in those areas too and work hard, right? It's not just about, you know, learn how to clean up after yourself. So whatever we could do at a young age to just start putting those things in their mind to help them grow. Like, I don't think they're going to do anything but thrive, you know?
Yeah. And I think as simply as it could possibly be put, we are raising the standard, period. So even if our kids don't, you know, take these lessons and become, you know, philanthropic and, you know, everything we would hope that they would, like, learn from these lessons, let's be honest. Like, I don't remember half of the lessons and the things that my parents tried to tell me, but I do remember the standard that we had, and the standard in many areas of our life growing up was very low. But in some areas, like integrity and values and, you know, taking care of people, like my mom was like, and my grandfather were like the glowing example of that, right? So those standards were very high, but a lot of standards were very low. So whether it's travel, whether it's, you know, daily home life, whether it's communication, whether it's love, education, I think our challenge is to constantly show them a higher standard so that what is uncomfortable to some people, like some people can say, oh, you know, rock bottom for me is, you know, being homeless. Other people, rock bottom would be flying coach. As stupid as that sounds, right? Rock bottom would be, oh my gosh, I have to live in an apartment instead of have my own house after, you know, school or whatever.
Yeah.
Rock bottom would be, oh, I don't get a new car. I have to drive, you know, something that leaks oil and, right, like, right? It's just a different standard. Nothing right or wrong with it, but in order to maintain that standard, that just means they're, you know, they have to, hopefully they have taken those lessons and they learn, you know, how to maintain that standard when they do.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't want to take these things away from them because, you know, selfishly, like as a parent, I want to protect them and I want them to be the best that they can be. And I also don't want to spoil them. And I'm a hard parent. I think I am anyway. Wouldn't you say I'm firm? Like
Yeah.
they know when they want to get away with things to go to dad, both of them. Neither one of them come to me to get away with anything. They go to
I
you.
don't know about all that. But
Yeah. Well,
sometimes.
I'll start writing down all these examples and we'll share them at some point because I can't think of any off the top of my head right now. But, you know, like with the whole theory of, you know, many years ago, Brandon said, you know, he wants to create a legacy. And when we start a family, he doesn't want to just like die someday and die. Like he wants to create a legacy. He wants to inspire his children and me and a ton of other people around him to be good people and serve others. And it's always been like a lifelong goal of his to somewhere along the way do that. And having kids is like pushing us to do that sooner. Mm-hmm. You know, people used to meet us when we were in our 20s and be like, man, you're so lucky to be doing the things that you're doing right now. And we would think like, I mean, I
You have
get,
no
I
idea
get
how much more we have to do.
Like, I guess so. I mean, I guess it's better than doing this in our 50s, but if we had been like 15, like some of these YouTube sensations, and had some of the tools that they have at their young age now that they're utilizing, like, where could we have been? And so it's almost like unique to think, like, now we have these little humans running around, and like, how cool is it that they have even more opportunities than we did and more tools that they can use, and we would be doing them an injustice not to give them every resource and tool possible that they can make their own decisions and go out and choose to do whatever they want with their lives. But like, it becomes more than just me and Brandon at that point, than to like want our kids to have all these resources and tools to go out and take action on, and create a legacy way earlier than we did. And if they want it, like, the world's their oyster. If they want to create this success and stuff at 15, our parents didn't. Neither one of our parents gave us that opportunity. In fact, my mom was the complete opposite. She told me everything I could not do until I became an adult and stopped talking to her and got rid of that negative energy, right? But man, there's a difference between, like, and I can see the difference when we're like, maybe there's some stressful things going on, like it was like a couple of years ago, right? And like, maybe there was more tension in the house. You could see that on the kids. You can see that tension, like, getting fed off to the children. But when you give them nothing but love and support and time and teach them responsibility, like, our kids, I want to say our kids thrive. Like, they are happy kids. They're good. People compliment on them. They say how smart Peyton is. Sorry,
good
Max.
manners.
Yes, and that
just can brag on our kids.
It gives me more drive to want to do it more. So the whole point is, no, I don't think they're going to turn bougie. No, I don't let them get too spoiled. I take stuff away from them all the time, because I want to teach them that life, you don't just get everything you want, and act however you want. You can't act a fool. Like, Max will act a fool sometimes. I'll take things away from him. Like, and he's learning now, right? Like, he's starting to, I've seen him make a huge shift over that. Like, if you do this, you're not going to get this, and then, stick to it and not give it to him. What's an example? If he doesn't finish his dinner, he doesn't get ice cream, and he'll watch his sister sit there and eat it, and, when he wants it, he'll eat his dinner. It's something so simple, but he's only 2 guys.
I just imagined us, like, when the kids are, like teenagers or something, and we're going on a family trip. I'm just picturing you saying, like, let's say we go to England or something, and it's like, all right, we're flying, but if the kids are acting up, you could tell them,
put them in
like,
coach.
Look, mom and dad are going to sit up front in first class, but if you don't act right, you're going to have a very long flight in coach.
I mean, those are probably, we haven't even talked about that stuff, but I can already see in the future, like, they're going to get to a certain age where I'm going to want them to have responsibilities, and we'll help them build their bank accounts as long as they're being responsible. And we probably will end up doing stuff like that. Like, we used to talk for years about how if our kid wants a car when they're teenagers, like, you're like, well, I want to make enough money to be able to afford it. And I said, that's great, but I don't want to make enough. We can afford it, but that doesn't mean we're going to buy it. Like, just because our kid is responsible doesn't mean I want to give them a car. Like, I'd like my kid to be working for it, and whatever they want to spend on a car, like, I'll match it, right? Mm-hmm. Or something like that. And it could hold up to first class or whatever we want it to be, but I will put some of that, work. I don't want them to be little entitled, like some of these kids out there these days. I don't want them to be little entitled kids.
I think that it's just as long as you're aware of it, you won't have that happen, right? I think a lot of entitled kids, people will selfishly, just staying on the first class example, they'll selfishly fly first class because they want to, and if they have young kids, they have to, because their kids are obviously not going to sit back by themselves. Or they'll buy their kid an iPad because they selfishly want to have that easier distraction than, like, giving them a leapfrog, which is not nearly as cool, but and doesn't distract them for nearly as long, but or they'll do things selfishly. Well, the kid can get used to that as, like, the pacifier, and then they expect it. If they act a fool, they expect to get that thing that they want, and that makes them stop acting a fool. So if you're aware of it, your intentions are to create better standards in all those different areas of life. I don't see how you can go wrong.
No, so feed those little babies. Give them all that
Yeah.
love and encouragement, and I mean, really, that you can help make your child unstoppable. You don't have to go, put them in bad situations to do that or whatever. You show them the way, like that you're supposed to be there to inspire them.
Yeah. All right, guys. I know we went a little long, but I want to first thank you for investing the time, listening in for another week. And look, even after 16 years, we are still not perfect, but we are putting in the work to make it work. Marriage takes work every single day, and like I said, we're putting in the work to make it work. So take what you want from this episode, and what you don't want, don't take. We appreciate you. If you can, give us a rating, a star rating, and/or we'd love it if you would give us a review and your feedback. That's what helps us make this better. And if you have somebody who needs this, who needs to have some better relationships in their life or can benefit from the entertainment or the lessons that we covered here this week, please share this with them. That's how this grows.
Yes, please. Okay, so we've been consistent. We're on our 10th episode now, so we're excited enough to keep this going, and now I'm finally ready to go public with this. So please, I know you guys are getting something from this podcast if you're still listening to us, so please share it with people. We appreciate you guys.
Until next week.
Bye.
Take care.
I can make the pain disappear, and I can erase the past. Oh, I can make the future shine so bright, and I can make right now alright.